All right, so today is August 2nd of 2022, and you know, I haven't been getting just a whole lot done. It's just been too doggone hot. But I have managed to mostly trim down the bottom of the chine here to get this angle here going. I got most of it done. I got a little bit more probably to do up here, and I'm going to need to maybe fill this in here, put a little strip of wood in there. And I got ran a little short here on some of these other pieces too, but I think this can just be filled when I lay up the bottom planking. It's going to be glued up here, so I think I can just put a little filler in here because that bottom planking is going to cover the whole thing there. And if you look down the line here, this chine line, it's not perfect. I'm just not really that great at establishing this angle consistently across the whole thing. You can see a little waviness to it and whatnot. But again, when these bottom planks come up here, they're going to lay up here, and then they're going to lay where they may, and then if there's a little gap here, I can fill it with thickened epoxy, or take a little bit more down as I'm putting the planking on. You know, just take a flap disc to it or whatever. But yeah, it's coming along okay, I guess. I don't enjoy that sort of thing. You know, I use the power planer for most of this. I used angle grinder with a flap disc on, you know, some of it, and I tried using my turbo planer a little bit of it. That was a little too aggressive. But anyway, so it's in preparation for putting these bilge stringers in, and you can see I got a 1x4 in here. Right now, in the first position, the first bilge stringer position is just kind of loosely clamped in there for now. But this is actually going to work a little better than I even thought it would. I was a little concerned as to how this was going to line up and whatnot. And it really doesn't need to be perfect. This is something that gets let in. It's going to be a 2x4, and it gets let into the frames here. And then the actual planking that comes across here is going to get glued and screwed to those 2x4 bilge stringers. So there's no reason they need to look pretty, but they're flowing across here better than I thought. And of course, in the middle, it's out just a little bit wider, and then on the ends, it narrows in at both the bow and the transom, which is fine. And George said they didn't need to actually run the whole way either, because they probably wouldn't make it, so you can just cut them off wherever you need to. But back here, I think my transom is wide enough across here that I'll probably be able to get pretty much all the bilge stringers notched up in here. And I don't know if I guess I could probably just as well run the notch all the way up into here, because this whole thing's going to get covered after the planking is on, and the whole thing's going to get covered in plywood too, which is going to be glued on there. So this is going all right, but to get these notches in here now, and you can see not all of these bevels are absolutely perfect, but the thing is, they don't have to be. So long as this stuff flows along here all right, if I cut these notches in here, they're going to make it set, you know, more or less fair. So what I'm going to do, this is what George suggested, was to put like a 1x in place, and then run a circular saw along here to cut these notches out. Run the circular saw on either edge of this board to cut the notches out. And then, of course, the 2x4 will set up in there. Then if this is a little bit proud somewhere, I can always come back and just bring it down a little bit, because it doesn't really matter, because the planking doesn't sit on these. It's going to sit on these bilge stringers that are let in there. But, you know, trying to just take the saw and cut this, you're going to keep rubbing on the edges of this 1x here, and eventually you're going to get narrower and it's not going to fit. So what I did, doing a little testing here, I put a little guide, little fence, whatever, on my circular saw, and this is designed to, when you cut here, it's going to be one side, one edge of the 2x4, and you come the other way, it'll create the other edge. It looks like it's going to work all right. And I was doing a little playing around here with it. Now you can see this first one, well, it's a little wide, so I need to bring this in about 1/8 of an inch, narrow this up 1/8 of an inch, or even less. Well, total up 1/8 of an inch. So it's close. I suppose I could actually just glue a little strip of cardboard or plastic or something on that edge, you know, like 1/16 of an inch. Yeah, that might be easier than trying to make it perfect by moving it. But anyway, this is the idea here, and I'm leaving it just a smidgen proud. If you look at this, it's just a little bit proud, and that's kind of what I wanted. But again, getting this gap closed down just a little bit, and this will get epoxied. And yeah, I haven't got this perfectly cleaned up yet. But using my small circular saw, I can get this cut, this 2 outside edges cut. Then I'm using my even smaller circular saw. I got it set, the depth, so that once I pull that 1x4 off there, then I can do these passes inside and then just knock the stuff out. And when you knock it out, then it doesn't take a whole lot to clean this up. And this surface really does not need to be perfectly smooth. In fact, it's probably better to be a little rough, because the epoxy will soak into that, and it'll give it even more surface area to grab and do a better job of grabbing. So, yeah, when this 2x4 gets glued in there, it's not going anywhere. So that's what I've been up to. I need to get this thing adjusted just a little bit narrower and do another test cut on there, and then make sure I like where my 1x4 is on the frames here, so then I can start getting those notches cut out. It's going to be a lot of work, there's no doubt about that. I think that's what George suggested doing it. I thought about it, and I think he's right. That looks to me like it's going to be the easiest way to do it. So, and I need 5 of these in here. 5 of these bilge stringers let in here. And of course I pulled down my supports, most of the supports and stuff that I had here. I got a couple of 2x6s, one on either end, to kind of help stabilize it a little bit yet too, but I don't really think it needs it. So long as these are in here, I think we're all right. I might have to take one of these out. Yeah, I'm gonna guess there's gonna be a notch cut in here. Yeah, I don't know if I'm gonna get my saw past this one. So one of them might be able to stay in, and the other one might have to come out to get the bilge stringers in there. But we'll see how that goes. I'll just support them, you know, put one in out here or whatever to support it for now, you know, coming down here. Whatever I need to do to make it work. And I think I'm going to do the whole side at once. Since I've got the bolt planked, I really don't think it's going to be necessary to do one stringer on one side, then move over to the other side, and you know, and switch back and forth. I think we're sturdy enough now you know, with the deck beams in and the planking on the sides in, I don't think we're going to have to worry about any distortion. Not only that, but these bilge stringers aren't going to need a lot of any sort of edge setting or anything. They're going to be a little twist when you start getting up here, of course, because the bow flares up here. But that's going to be the extent of it. And hopefully I'll be able to get that twist in the 2x4s without having to. I might have to laminate it up a couple 3/4 inch pieces. That's a possibility too, up here anyway. But I think this would be the only place. And no, you know, my frames and everything aren't perfect. This boat, you know, and George didn't design these boats to be show boats. They were more based on a working boat design. They weren't designed to be all prettied out, and that's kind of the way I'm building it. You know, if I'd want to make it all pretty like, you know, Leo's doing on Tally Ho or Steve is doing on his boat, yeah, it would take me forever, especially working by myself. There's a limit to how, I mean, I want it to be strong, I want it to be durable, you know, but I'm not going to go nuts about making it pretty. It's not going to have any effect on how the boat functions. If there's, you know, 1/4 or 3/8 of an inch of difference along these frames or whatever, just a little bit of waviness or whatever to the bottom. And it's not bad, not bad. And a little bit of that I can take out with a little bit of planing when I get ready to, you know, before I put the planking on here too, but or even after the planking, I could plane the planking down just a little bit and before the plywood goes on. So yeah, there is recourse there to make it look better, but I think it's going to be all right. Yeah, so then once starboard side's done, I'll have to take all this stuff out on the port side and do the same thing on the port side. And I move my little ladder here to the port side so I can get back up in there. I'm sure you saw that. I got my 4th tank in here, and that's the gray water tank. It's a 40-gallon gray water tank. And the other 3 tanks are 46-gallon tanks. They'll be freshwater. And then I've still got that 65-gallon tank I'm not quite sure what to do with yet. I might end up installing it back here in the stern and then just using it. It's sitting up in there. Use it if I think I need it. Probably put some plumbing in for it. And yeah, we'll see how that goes. But and I probably should have finished my engine mounts and stuff here before I put these bilge stringers in. Yeah. They're only about a foot apart, which doesn't give me a whole lot of room to. I suppose I could still get in here to work on it. Be a little tight. Or I could just leave one piece out. Leave a piece out here. I'm not sure how long I'm going to go. He talked about, you know, abutting these on the frames was fine if you've got big frames, which I do. But then staggering those on different levels. So I'm going to have to get different lengths of 2x. And I don't know if it's really that critical as to, you know, putting real long ones on here or not. But I need to order some more 2x. The Douglas for 2x. Got a few left here. But what do we got there? 4, maybe 8 of them is all 8 or 9. 8 or 9 of them there. Those are 20-footers. And I got a few pieces of shorter stuff over here. But that's not going to be enough. So I'll get some more 2x ordered as well. And then this stuff that's left over here, of course, 2x6s and a little bit of 2x8 there. That will be used for bottom planking, and of course I'll need more of that too. But that's going to be a job for hopefully this fall. But hopefully I get this done this summer yet. We get some cooler weather, and you know, in the next 6 weeks or so, I can get this these bilge stringers in. And then it's going to be a matter of starting to plank the bottom. And then if I get the bottom planked this fall, then this winter, well, I got a couple options. I can start putting plywood on, which actually isn't a bad option because the winter time it's cooler. I keep it about 60, 62 degrees in here. And that's gives you a lot of working time with the epoxy, but it'll still set overnight. So you can put a sheet up and come back the next day and put another sheet up and, you know, do a little sanding or grinding on the old epoxy if you need to. So yeah, wintertime wouldn't be horrible. Wouldn't be horrible at all. And then here's my frame 46 hump. It actually looks like 44 and 46 are a little out there. Wish I'd planed those down just a little bit more and taken that bow out of there. And I don't know. Maybe that's the way George wanted it. But see, I took that out over here for the most part. I took a 1/2 or 5/8 of an inch or so out over here, and it looks to me a lot better. But anyway, such is life. That's where we are on August 2nd.